If you've lost a case in Pennsylvania state court and you think it was wrong what the judge or the jury did, what are your options? Under Pennsylvania law, you have the option to appeal to the Superior Court. That is what we call the Intermediate Appellate Court. Or in some cases, to appeal to the Commonwealth Court. That is our other Intermediate Appellate Court. Which court gets your case depends on what type of case it is, and most of them go to the Superior Court. If you've lost a trial, it's important for you to know that if it's a civil case, you have 10 days to file with the trial judge for your case what's called a post-trial motion and brief, explaining why what the judge or jury did was wrong or why it should be reversed, why you should have the opportunity to appeal. If you miss that 10-day deadline, you are generally out of luck. There are some exceptions, but if you have lost a trial, it's important for you to get an appellate attorney on board right away. After you've filed that brief, the judge will have the opportunity to rule on it, and then within 30 days, you will have to file your appeal with the appropriate court that will hear the case. Those courts then hear and make a decision, and from there, you sometimes can also appeal to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. That is very rare. They take somewhere between 60 and 80 cases a year. So most of our appeals are decided by that Superior Court or Commonwealth Court, depending on the type of case you have. If it's a criminal case, you can also file a post-trial motion, but you usually don't have to. Usually the post-sentence motion is optional but not necessary, so you have a little bit longer time. You have 30 days after you're sentenced to file an appeal to the Superior Court arguing why you shouldn't have been convicted, why there wasn't enough evidence, why something shouldn't have been admitted to be considered, or something like that. An appellate court, that's a court that hears appeals, will be very quick to tell you that they're not going to reweigh the evidence. What this means is they won't listen to a complaint that, witness A was lying or witness B should have been believed by the jury or by the trial court. Generally, courts that are hearing appeals are not going to get into that. What they're looking for are errors of law. In other words, the judge allowed witness B to testify to what somebody outside of court told him, and my attorney objected and the judge overruled him and let him testify to that. And that was really influential testimony. Or we asked to have this evidence suppressed in the criminal trial and the judge said no, the jury could hear about it. Or in a civil trial, we came in and they were allowed to argue things to the jury that they shouldn't have been allowed to argue about the nature of liability. The evidence that they put on was not sufficient as a matter of law. Even when all of it was taken together, it wasn't enough to amount to what they claimed. Those are the sorts of things that an appeals court is going to listen to from your attorney. Appellate cases are not a new trial. They are a very dry exercise by academics who are involved in the process. An appeals attorney is going to write a brief, sometimes a very long brief. I've been involved in appeals where there were hundreds of pages involved in talking to the court about what needed to happen with the lower court. It's not a new trial, and there's generally only a very brief oral argument at the end of the process where the judges on the appeals court get to ask questions of the attorneys on both sides. They might ask about what was in the briefs, about cases that they've cited. They might ask other questions to help them understand it better. They're not going to hear from your witnesses or even from you. They're going to hear from the attorneys who are representing you on those issues. If you have lost a trial or if you're looking at an appeal, it's extremely important to talk to an attorney right away. Appellate attorneys have to work very fast in Pennsylvania to get these appeals in. If you've got a question about this, call us at Cornerstone Law Firm and talk to one of us about your appeal today so we can give you advice on your rights.